Salam and welcome back to SomaliDispatch.com's YouTube channel. For all Somali-related news and interviews, please visit us at SomaliDispatch.com. I'm Abdulqadir Goulet. The new administration of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud of Somalia has been in power for just over 100 days. The new government has recently touted in achieving milestones. To discuss the government's success and perhaps its shortcomings, we have contacted Quays Irby, a renowned political analyst, and Abukar Sanei, a researcher and a Ph.D. candidate. Quays Irby and Abukar Sanei, both welcome to SomaliDispatch.com. Thank you for your time. Guys, if you could start us off by giving us your assessment on President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's leadership so far.
Well, thank you very much for coming back to our Somali Dispatch. As you know, Somalia has escaped from very narrow margins to go back into a civil war after Farmajo has taken 2 years of extension, which is not, expected at all, especially when Somalia has been progressing democratically for a while. So for us to see Hassan Sheikh to come back into the power is a major step for Somalis in general. If you look at the progress that has been made for the last 100 days, it's uncountable. So you can see, it's throughout the country. You can see straight away, Al-Shabaab is being pushed around every corner within the country. And it's worth mentioning, while I'm still talking about that point, Hassan Sheikh has been the only president that has launched 2 major attacks against Al-Shabaab. So we need to remember that Indian Ocean and Gorgor, 2 major, offensive that has been launched against Al-Shabaab, both has been led and launched by Hassan Sheikh. Now we are seeing the unrest that is taking place everywhere, every corner that Al-Shabaab is based on. If you look at the international community, the progress between Somalis and the other relations, especially in the international community, is rebuilding again. There is a trust. There's all sort of progress. If you look at the constitution that has been dismantled and disrespected by the previous government, now again there is a reestablishment. There is also unity. If you look at the Prime Minister's efforts within, and if you look at the President's movement is around, around us as well as outside the country. What we are seeing is Somalis that are united, and the goal is to really get back from corner to corner of the country without Al-Shabaab being in power anymore.
Thank you. That's one side of the perspective in what's been happening a little over the last 100 days that President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud is back in power again. Abukar Sanei, your take on so far how President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's administration is handling the transition and ruling of the country.
Thank you again, Abdulqadir, and thanks, Quays, for this opportunity to be together. It's my first time seeing Quays in here. So, my analysis also similar but somewhat different with Quays, his analysis. Yes, I agree that we clearly saved the country from another civil war. That was very true. Farmajo was trying to be the wannabe dictator, again, dictator 2.0 in Somalia, and that really people's revolt rejected that kind of notion, and that will not be working in Somalia any longer. Anybody who's trying to do that kind of rhetoric or that kind of mental thinking or mentality will not be working. So coming back to Hassan Sheikh's now situation, he came to the power May 15. And June 15 was really the appointment of the Prime Minister, Hamza Barre, who is coming from the same circle of Hassan Sheikh. We have to be honest in that situation. Somebody who's really selected by Hassan Sheikh, somebody who is less experienced in governance and also the way that system of governance functions, because he's very new. And then we know, what happened also in that manipulation also, and also looking for cabinet members that are also manipulated insider, if you will. by the people who really are surrounded by Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, whether they call it the Mujahideen, whether they call it UDP, or whether you call it Dalgir. Those are really now the people that are called the real owners of Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. I mean, before we used to have one person who owns the government or who owns the president, but now we have multiple groups who own the president. That really may not be working well for the country in the long run, because I mean, Somalia is a fragile country where there still people some sort of grievances are everywhere. People are thinking and looking at how Hassan Sheikh is managing the government in terms of power share, in terms of respecting the formula that's still not really perfect, but also a way that Somalia was working with from 2004.5. I'm really seeing manipulation and also power grab by Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. Also we see that before even the formation of the government, he was the only man who was running around. He was going to everywhere. Qatar, UAE, Turkey, Uganda, with no ministry with him, and that is not a signal that we can even expect from Hassan Sheikh, because he's civil society member. He's somebody who's really aware of how to share power and how to negotiate people together in a systematic way. But he was the only person who was really turning the show in that before the formation of the government, and that many people rejected that kind of single person who's trying to be the government of Somalia. So again, it still maybe it's early to tell, but I can tell that we will see what the future will hold for Hassan Sheikh. This is really his experience again. He's coming back to power again because he was 2012, 2016, and now it's 2022, and also this next 4 years he will be his litmus test for the country, how he will lead.
Right. Quays Irby, to come back to you with all that Abukar Sanei has highlighted, the president seems to have ignored his fellow opposition politicians in the past and have formed a new exclusive government rather than a coalition government, which many Somalis were expecting. What do you say to that reported, dysfunction in forming the government, and how is that affecting it in your thinking?
We need to understand, if we are blaming how Hassan Sheikh has formed his government, we need to look back how has formed his government in the past. Now, what my colleague in the discussion is complaining about is Hassan Sheikh has got a party, and that is called UBD. So he selected a lot of his party members to be in the government. That is, a formula that is being used worldwide. If you look at America, you cannot become the president and then appoint, from a member from the Republican to be the deputy, president, when you are also from the Jamhuri. You have to always select the members from your party, as long as you meet the formula of 4.5. That is acceptable. That is absolutely within the boundaries. Now, another point.
In a perfect world, yes, but in Somali context.
Well, if we don't copy the perfect
world, trying to say, because my brother's comparing Somalia to the United States, and that's really
no.
Let's not compare the US and Somalia, please.
No. Okay. The difference is it's very simple. The difference is kind of, the margins are quite large. But when you look at it, if we don't copy the perfect world, how are we going to become a perfect world ever? Now, if you remember, Mogadishu has been a city that is beautiful, that has been traveled for holidays around the world, when Dubai or Saudi Arabia doesn't even exist. Are you aware that in 1929, there was a huge drought in Saudi Arabia, and the country that has, satisfied all the needs at the time was Somalia? We need to look back the history. So Somalis are more than capable of building a perfect country that is challenging.
Abukar, let me finish, please. I'll give you a chance.
Okay, go ahead. With all due respect, I see your point. You're talking about the perfect country that has maybe systems and its all institutions intact.
When I finish, I mean, the other point that you raised, quite rightly so, is that you said the power has been abused, and there's some sort of blackmailing going on and so on. Now, I don't really understand where these issues are coming from, but if you look at the 5 TFGs, they are quite happy with the progress. And how do we know they are happy with it? Because the members of the parliament that they have elected has voted for the current government, has voted for the current prime minister, has voted for every minister. So we cannot say they are not happy. Southwest has got 77 MPs, and they all voted for the current prime minister and the government. Now, if you are saying that Hassan Sheikh is destroying the institution, I totally disagree, because Hassan Sheikh is one president that is very well known, rebuilding the institution, is respecting the rule of law, especially in the institution. And also we know Hassan Sheikh has built the Southwest, Galmudug, Hirshabelle, and also contributed quite a lot of Jubaland. So who has been destroying Formaggio? We're thanking God that he's left and he's no longer here.
Abukar, if I may go to you. Thank you, Quays. Abukar, if you can perhaps illustrate or give examples of some of the grievances that you've mentioned to get a better understanding of your point of view.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, I don't compare Formaggio to Hassan Sheikh, because Formaggio was the wannabe dictator in Somalia. Okay, so Hassan Sheikh, I mean, he's coming from the background of civil society groups, background of research. I mean, background of somebody who's really aware of the vulnerability of the country, the vulnerability of the society, Somali people, where they come from and where they end. So I mean, I'm not expecting something that's really the same or equal to I mean, Hassan Sheikh from Formaggio. I mean, I want to see Hassan Sheikh totally different from Formaggio. So that's number one. Number two, I mean, if you look at the behavior of Hassan Sheikh, I mean, from May 15, 2022, up to today, the people who are surrounding him, okay, this is very important. The people who are surrounding him are really handpicked by him. They are the ones who are close associated with him. Whether it's the Mujahideen group, call it, whether it's the UBD, I mean, if you will, whether it's a Darjil group, they are the people who are associated together and also trying to, I mean, get the cake by themselves. And that's not working in Somalia nowadays, because there's still people who are feeling grievance, as I said. I mean, let's say, for example, now the issue of Banadr, region. Banadr region is really decided by people who are really different kind of people. So look at the person that he selected. That person, I mean, I don't reject him, I don't deny him, because he has the right to rule. But at the same time, Hassan Sheikh is circling the wheel that Formaggio left to create some sort of grievance. We have seen people in Mogadishu who are really struggling against the nomination of the current Banadr region governor or mayor. And that those people are really saying that they have grievances. Their power, I mean, sharing mechanism was not respected. So that's where, I mean, you can see that kind of situation of manipulating and also micromanaging the system. Secondly, look at those people who are really traveling with him. Even now, he came to the US now, I mean, 3 days ago. People who are traveling, where is the foreign minister of the country? I mean, why he's not with him? He has the beauty, I mean, the state minister of foreign affairs, Ali Balad, I respect him, but Ali Balad is not the minister of the foreign affairs. So, and also we have this Abukar, who is from the state minister, also in the village of Somalia. It's fine, but I mean, still you have the same group with the same mentality, with the same thinking, who are in a circle. In that case, that may bring backlash to Hassan, because people will see that they are alienated. Okay, and that is still what we need to avoid in Somalia again, because we know where we came from. We know why we fought against Hamid al-Barre. We know why we fought internally inside each other ourselves. That we don't want it to come back again. So we need somebody who can really sense, who can really understand the dynamics of Somali politics, how it works, and also what kind of sensitivity that you need to avoid in terms of bringing people together. Okay, in terms of working out to bring people together in the power chain agreement.
Okay, so unless guys have something to say to that, we'll move on to the security aspect in which guys taunted some success. What is your assessment on the government's use of militias, which again are within outside of the confines of the government? Could that be taunted as a success? Guys, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I will answer to your question, Abukar, and thank you for raising this. It's kind of very important question, but I want to highlight a couple of things that my colleague here in the discussion have raised. The president came to the United States to attend the UN meeting. It's not the foreign ministers to attend, it's the world leaders to attend, and the leader in our country is the President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. That is absolutely, something that we need to underscore. Now, whether the foreign minister can come with the Hassan Sheikh, that is something that we shouldn't get, deep into it, because they have two different jobs. Maybe the foreign minister is doing another responsibility or has got other engagements somewhere else. We cannot really use that as a valid point. Whether his delegates is got Ali Balad or someone else, the president has the right to, have anybody combine with him as long as they see fit. But the real point that I need to challenge in this, from what you said, is it's the same circle UPD team that you are seeing again. Now, we are not in a mosque. We are in politics. We are in Africa. There's corruption everywhere. Had Hassan Sheikh not had these people around him, maybe he wouldn't have been able to come back into power. So you can see they are genuine and they are strong and they are capable of coming back to power. This is it's a history being made now. It's the first time that president re-elected. And how did he, manage to do that? Because maybe he gathered the right team who are really, solid and capable of bringing him back. And that's why he's in power. Now, had Farmacho had a better team, he would have won the team. He would have won the election. Now, the other thing we need to discuss about this is everybody around Somalia knew the main components of Hassan Sheikh's team. And yet again, Somalis have elected Hassan Sheikh. So if you want to disagree with Hassan Sheikh's re-election,
I can also argue, brother. I can also argue against that notion. The people that you say now elected Hassan Sheikh are the people who defeated him in 2016. Okay, if you 2017, if you remember. They are the same people.
Good. Let me say something. Let me say something to that. If they have defeated him in 2016,
that may not be
fine. Very good point. Fair enough. If they have defeated him and they have been against him in 2016, to re-elect him right now shows there is a need for him to come back.
As long as they can own him, as long as they can manage him to have their own, because this is really group thinking that is really not compatible with the way that we're working now as a government in Somalia.
Okay.
I think we're going down a rabbit hole here.
As a nation building that we are in now, the way that the mentality that I see from Bilgi Group and the mentality that I see UPT or Demirji Group may not be working in Somalia now this time.
Gentlemen, we wanted the discussion. Gentlemen, sorry, I have to interject here. We wanted the conversation to revolve around generalities. If we go down too deep into the inner workings of Hassan Sheikh's group, a lot of our audiences might not even understand. But what's irrefutable is that when Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, let me finish, when Hassan Sheikh Mohamud was re-elected, he wasn't re-elected through the groups we're talking about now, where he was re-elected by the coalition that was opposing Farmacho. Did he build an inclusive government that reflects that vote or not? I'll give it to Abukar Sanei first.
No, I haven't answered the question about the security.
We will go back to that. But just to get out of this conversation that's revolving around.
Okay. For the sake of maybe agreement with my brother, for the point of group, having a will in their political power, that's fine. but also, as you mentioned now, I mean, Abdul Qadir, it was very important, inclusivity, and also, I mean, this is even I'm one of the people who wrote the Somali national plan now, that's now part of the government's plan now in development plans for Somalia. There is a chapter called inclusive politics. Inclusive politics means that everybody can see, or every group of society in our society, they see themselves in the governance way that we have in Somalia. That is very key for state building.
Okay, let's give it to
Hassan Sheikh may not understand that this time, but I think he will understand that maybe after 3 years, maybe which would be very late.
Okay,
but now it's time for him to think.
Quickly.
The state building process, the state building process that we are now in, is based on that kind of inclusivity or inclusive politics.
Right. Okay. Look, there's the two main, the two key points is that the leader to have is vision and a courage. That's number one, vision. Number two, courage. Now, Hassan Sheikh has got a vision. He's implementing his vision. Whether the parliament agrees or disagrees, we can analyze it from the photos that the prime minister and his team got. So, very simple. We can see how Hassan Sheikh has been elected because his vision has been accepted as a president. His prime minister and his government has been also accepted. Now, to have a courage to move forward from the mess that we are in, really sham situation, that Al-Shabaab right now is mixed with the Nisa, is mixed with everything, that they are now taxing the ports, airport, the Mogadishu port, everywhere. To go out from this mess, we need a leader who's got courage. And that courage is why he's implementing the right team at the right components, at the right places. And that's why the parliament is seeing what he's doing is correct and they are voting for it.
Now, to the security aspect.
Security aspect, now straight away, look at the uprising from Somali, even population, without the government getting involved. Now, Al-Shabaab is being defeated. Bulaberde is no longer in their hands. 75% of Beledweyne is no longer in their hands. First time that we've seen, Ali Dere, coming to the radios and, crying and making loud. That is the sign that this group is being defeated and they are losing. Now, if the government backs up this Ma'uslay group, I think if they register them, give them the right salary, give them the weapons, number these weapons, give them the registration cards, give them training and support and mentor and monitor them, I think we are going to see very soon a successful history.
Thank you. For the sake of time, Abukar Sanei, thank you, guys. Abukar Sanei, can the government take credit for the Ma'uslay militia, some are calling vigilante group? What can be done about that, and how do you see that ending up?
Yeah, I think this also, unfortunately, will be a squad one again, because we know how if militia or people who are really not government officials or government sources or soldiers, when they organize themselves and when they try to fight against elements in the society, that may bring some other backlash in the future, because that has sequences that we know before. We knew how the militias who had the weapons and the army in 1991 fought against each other, and they were saying that they were the government, but that didn't happen. So in this case now, obviously, I really admire them, because this enemy that we have in Somalia, Al-Shabaab, is still a cancer for Somali people and should be eliminated. That's very important. But there's no credit that I can give to Hassan Sheikh and his team for these people who are really organizing themselves to fight against, because these people are tired of Al-Shabaab. They are really, this is really their time now to say that no to Al-Shabaab. And that's very important. But the opportunity for Hassan Sheikh and his team is really to get advantage of this situation and organize these people as soon as possible. If they don't do that, it will backfire to them again. And these people will be the same as Arizona that we knew before in Gremlin region, that also will carry the arm and the weapon and again fight against the government again. That situation we should avoid and can be avoided only when the government is trying to organize these people as soon as possible.
Right. For the sake of time again, Quays, recently the President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and his delegation visited the US. They were received at the Pentagon and by the World Bank. And in one of the speeches he made to the community, the Somali community in Virginia, was, highly reported that he talked about the Somaliland issue and how his government will never accept a secession. And obviously the Somaliland authorities had responded. I just wanted to get your take on that issue and what the president has said.
Okay, now Hassan Sheikh is the president of Somalis everywhere around the world. So whether you are in NFD, whether you are in some parts of Ethiopia, whether you are in Djibouti, whether you are in Somaliland, whether you are in Somalia, the Somali's president today is Hassan Sheikh. Somali president as a constitution should never entertain anything that is dividing Somalia. And Somalia should be accepted as a nation that has got borders. The world has recognized these borders have been, signed off in 1946. So there's nothing to argue about here. What he's trying to do is to tell the leaders of Somaliland, hey, the game is over. The time is up. Now it's your choice whether you want to come into the table with a realistic vision, with a proper negotiations tactic, or whether you want to have the similar round and round and round circles that has been ongoing since 1991. As we all know, Somaliland has not achieved anything. No countries in this world or a single state has recognized them. They still travel with Somali passport. Unfortunately, I see myself as a Somalilander as well as Somali. And I think, it's the time we all realize Somaliland is not going anywhere. It's the time that they should sit down with Somalis and say, this is what we want. This is how we want. Let's sign the papers and let's go move forward together.
Some of the points you raised are their own programs, and we will talk about that with sovereign countries, Hassan Sheikh being a president of those countries. We can leave that as it is, but for the less than the 2 minutes we have left for this conversation, Abukar, your take on President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's remarks towards Somaliland this week.
Yeah, I can. That's very, important question, and I see that Hassan Sheikh really tried to address the issue of Somaliland with the Somali gathering in Virginia, which was very important and symbolic because unity, that it sent the message of unity to the people. But in the reality, Somaliland is still a fact, and I don't really endorse the issue of separation or secession. But these people really, they build institutions, they build their region very well. So the issue of negotiation is very important, and negotiations are really also honestly driven. And it should be based on how we can come together as society one more time in our country. That's really the job of Hassan Sheikh Mohamud to do it. There's one thing that he said that I really like it very, very much. He said, even the constitution, we give it to them to write what they want. So they are the ones who write the constitution, the new constitution. We'll give them even to do what they want in that constitution. That was very important. But again, at the same time, also, I have seen also Musa Bihi talked back against Hassan Sheikh, what he said in Virginia when he met the Somali community in Virginia area, and he rejected also the notion of, we let Somaliland to have the development, activities, whatever they do, that's okay for us, and that was translated by Musa Bihi Abdi, the president of Somaliland. He said that this is really Hassan Sheikh is really looking at us down. And that is really a bad message that Hassan Sheikh sent to Somaliland people.
I appreciate that, gentlemen. We can never have enough time to make a dive into these issues, but both Quays Irby in London and in Abukar Sanei, who's in Ohio, I both thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdul Qadir, for giving us the opportunity to discuss as well.